Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of the human orbital station, watching Earth spin slowly below. The blue marble looked peaceful, but Jake knew better. His weathered face showed the stress of 40 years in space, dealing with aliens who treated humans like children. The communication panel buzzed. "Admiral, priority message from the Galactic Federation Council," said Lieutenant Chris Turner. Jake sighed. Nothing good ever came from those messages. He walked to his command center, where holographic displays showed ships from dozens of alien species. The Zephyrians were the worst. Big reptile-like creatures who thought they owned the galaxy. "Put it through," Jake said. The hologram showed Ambassador Kethvar, a massive Zephyrian with scales like armor and yellow eyes that never blinked. "Human Morrison," the alien hissed, "the Council has reached a decision about your species' debt to the galaxy." "Debt?" Jake's jaw tightened. "What debt?" "Protection services. The Zephyrian Empire has kept your world safe for 2 centuries. Payment is now due." Kethvar's forked tongue flicked out. 3 of your outer colonies. New Boston, Highland Station, and Ceres Base. You have 90 days to evacuate your people. Jake's hands clenched into fists. Those colonies house 12 million humans. Families, children, entire communities. Not our concern. The Council voted 847 to 1. Only your pathetic delegation opposed. Kethvar leaned forward. "Be grateful we allow you to keep Earth." The transmission ended. Jake stared at the empty space where the alien had been. Around him, his crew watched in silence. They all knew this day would come. The aliens had been pushing harder each year, taking more, demanding more. "Sir?" Chris Turner stepped forward. "Orders?" Jake looked at the young officer. Chris was barely 25, part of the new generation of humans who had never known Earth before the aliens came. Smart, quick, loyal. He deserved better than this. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command," Jake said quietly. 20 minutes later, Jake was alone in his private office, speaking to a heavily encrypted channel. The man on the screen was General Pete Davis, head of Earth's military forces. "I saw the transmission," Pete said. His gray hair and tired eyes showed the weight of command. "The president is meeting with the cabinet now. Pete, we can't keep taking this. They're bleeding us dry." "I know, Jake, I know." Pete was quiet for a moment. "How long until your fleet can reach the outer colonies?" 2 week standard burn. Why?" "Because Operation Prometheus just went active. Full authorization. All assets, all personnel." Jake felt his heart skip. Operation Prometheus was the ghost protocol. The thing they whispered about in dark corners. The project that officially didn't exist. "Pete, are you sure? There's no going back from this." "Jake, they just demanded we abandon 12 million of our people. They've made their choice. Now we make ours." The transmission ended. Jake sat in his chair staring at nothing. Operation Prometheus. After 200 years of being the galaxy's pets, humanity was about to show its teeth. He pressed his comm button. "This is the Admiral. All department heads to briefing room 7. Maximum security protocols." An hour later, Jake stood before his senior staff. Captain Ben Rodriguez, the best pilot in the fleet. Dr. Lisa Grant, the brilliant scientist who had been working on classified projects for decades. Major Amy Parker, Ground Forces commander with more decorations than wall space. These were the people he trusted with humanity's future. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jake began, "we have new orders from Earth Command. Operation Prometheus is now active." Dr. Grant's eyes widened. She knew what that meant. Her research, her work in the hidden laboratories, was about to be tested. "Lisa, how long until the enhancement chambers are ready?" Jake asked. "They've been ready for months, sir. We can begin immediately. The genetic modifications, the neural implants, the cellular regeneration systems, everything is operational." Major Parker leaned forward. "How many can we enhance?" "Every human in the fleet. Every soldier. Every pilot. Every person who volunteers." Lisa's voice was steady, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes. "The alien scans show human genetics as primitive. They have no idea what we've actually become." Captain Rodriguez spoke up. "Admiral, my pilots have been training on the new ships for 6 months. The ones with the quantum drives and phase technology. We're ready," Jake nodded. The new ships looked like standard human vessels from the outside. Inside, they carried technology that would make the aliens wet themselves with fear. Technology reverse-engineered from alien artifacts improved by human ingenuity and hidden for decades. "The Zephyrians want our colonies. Jake said. They think we're weak. They think we'll just roll over and surrender because we always have before. He walked to the star map, showing the 3 colonies the aliens demanded. They're wrong. We've been playing weak for 2 centuries, learning, watching, preparing. Every alien ship that visited Earth was scanned. Every alien diplomat was studied. Every piece of technology they used was analyzed and improved. Major Parker smiled grimly. They taught us their weaknesses without knowing it. Exactly. Their energy shields fail at specific frequencies. Their hull armor has molecular weak points. Their weapons have charging delays. Their pilots think in 3 dimensions while we learn to fight in 4. Jake turned back to his officers. They created the perfect enemy by underestimating us for so long. Dr. Grant pulled up holographic displays showing human physiology. The enhancement process takes 72 hours per person. Increased muscle density, neural acceleration, cellular regeneration, enhanced reflexes. A single enhanced human soldier can match 5 Zephyrian warriors. And our new ships? Jake asked Captain Rodriguez. Faster than anything in their fleet. Phase drives let us appear anywhere instantly. Quantum weapons that ignore their shields. Point defense systems that can track 1 million targets at once. Ben's grin was predatory. Admiral, it won't even be a fair fight. Jake looked around the room at these people he trusted with his life. They had waited so long for this moment. Humanity had played the role of grateful junior partner, while secretly becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. Signal Earth Command. Tell them we're moving to defensive positions around the 3 colonies. Tell them Operation Prometheus personnel are enhanced and ready. Tell them the Zephyrians are about to learn why Earth's predators evolved to hunt in packs. As his officers filed out to begin preparations, Jake remained at the star map. In 90 days, the Zephyrians would come expecting to claim empty worlds. Instead, they would find humanity's true face waiting for them. The galaxy was about to learn that the quiet species from the small blue world had been listening, learning, and preparing. And now it was time to settle the score. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Federation's betrayal. The Zephyrian warfleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the new Boston system, their massive ships gleaming in the starlight. Admiral Vextar commanded 200 vessels, enough firepower to crack a planet's surface. Pathetic humans, Vextar growled from his command chair. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. Not even defending their precious colony. They run like prey animals. His sensor officer, a smaller Zephyrian named Koth, checked his displays. Sir, I'm reading some energy signatures near the asteroid field. Could be mining equipment. Ignore it. Primitive human industry. Vextar activated the communication array. Human colony New Boston. This is Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. You have 1 hour to complete evacuation. Then we claim this world for our people. The response came immediately, but it wasn't from the planet. A human voice, calm and steady, spoke from somewhere in the system. Zephyrian Fleet, this is General Amy Parker of the Human Defense Force. You are trespassing in human space. Leave now or face the consequences. Vextar's yellow eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed in anger. Human female, you dare threaten the Zephyrian Empire? We have 200 ships of the line. What do you have? Enough. The asteroid field suddenly came alive. Ships emerged from hidden positions, but they weren't the clunky human vessels Vextar expected. These were sleek, predatory shapes that moved with impossible grace. Energy readings spiked off the charts. Sir? Koth's voice cracked. Those aren't asteroids. They're ships. Hundreds of them. Before Vextar could respond, the human fleet struck. The first wave of attacks hit his forward ships with weapons that shouldn't exist. Beams of coherent energy sliced through Zephyrian shields like they weren't there. Hull armor that had protected his people for 1,000 years melted like ice in fire. Evasive maneuvers, Vextar roared. Return fire. But the human ships moved wrong. They phased through solid matter, appearing inside his defensive formations. They changed direction without slowing down, ignoring the laws of physics that governed normal space travel. On New Boston's surface, Lieutenant Chris Turner led his enhanced soldiers against the Zephyrian landing forces. The aliens had expected to face normal humans, slow, weak creatures that relied on technology instead of natural ability. They were wrong. Chris moved like lightning, his enhanced reflexes making the world seem slow around him. A Zephyrian warrior, 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor, swung a plasma rifle at his head. Chris ducked under the swing, grabbed the weapon and crushed it with his bare hands. The alien's eyes went wide. Chris smiled and punched through the creature's chest armor like it was paper. "What are you?" The dying Zephyrian gasped. "Evolution," Chris said, and moved to the next target. His soldiers followed, each one enhanced far beyond normal human limits. They jumped 30-foot gaps, lifted tons of debris, and shrugged off energy blasts that should have killed them. Their weapons were precise, their movements coordinated, their tactics flawless. The Zephyrian ground forces, proud warriors who had conquered 100 worlds, broke and ran within minutes. In space, Admiral Vextar watched his fleet die around him. Human ships appeared and disappeared at will, striking from impossible angles. His weapons couldn't track them. His shields couldn't stop them. His armor couldn't protect them. "Retreat!" he commanded. "All ships retreat to hyperspace." But the humans were already there waiting. Ships materialized directly in front of his fleeing vessels, cutting off escape routes with surgical precision. In 47 minutes, 200 Zephyrian ships became debris and radiation. Only Vexitar's flagship remained, surrounded by human vessels that could have destroyed it at any moment but chose not to. The communication array crackled to life. "Admiral Vextar." General Parker's voice was still calm. "Prepare to be boarded." "Never." Vextar snarled. "I'll activate self-destruct before I surrender to humans." "No, you won't." The human ships fired something that looked like energy bolts, but when they hit Vextar's ship, nothing exploded. Instead, systems simply stopped working. Weapons powered down. Life support switched to minimal settings. Even the self-destruct system went offline. "Impossible," Vextar whispered. "Those are neural inhibitor pulses. Only the ancient ones possessed such technology." The flagship's hull began to glow, and suddenly humans were materializing inside the ship. They walked through walls like ghosts, their equipment phasing through solid matter until they chose to interact with it. Captain Ben Rodriguez appeared on the bridge, his enhanced form moving with deadly grace. Behind him came a squad of human soldiers, their weapons trained on the Zephyrian crew. "Admiral Vextar," Ben said politely, "you're under arrest for acts of piracy against human space." Vextar stared at the humans in shock. These weren't the weak, primitive creatures his people had dismissed for centuries. These were predators, evolved and enhanced beyond anything the galaxy had seen. "What are you?" he demanded. Ben smiled, and his teeth seemed sharper than they should be. "We're what you made us. 200 years of watching, learning, adapting. Every time your people visited Earth, we studied you. Every piece of technology you showed us, we improved. Every weakness you revealed, we memorized." Dr. Lisa Grant materialized beside him, her equipment scanning the Zephyrian crew with devices that made no sense. "Genetic analysis complete," she reported. "Standard Zephyrian physiology. Primitive neural structure. Limited adaptation capability. Primitive." Vextar's voice was strangled. "We ruled this galaxy before your species learned to make fire. And that's your problem." General Parker's voice came through the communication system. "You stopped evolving. We never did." Within hours, recordings of the battle spread across the galactic networks. Alien species watched in horror as the humans moved like demons, their technology functioning on principles that defied understanding. The creatures they had dismissed as weak and backward had revealed themselves as apex predators. The Galactic Federation Council met in emergency session. Ambassador Kethver, who had delivered the ultimatum to Admiral Morrison, watched the recordings with growing terror. "Impossible," he hissed. "The humans showed no signs of such capability. Our scans indicated primitive genetics, basic technology. They showed us what they wanted us to see," said Counselor Thren, an ancient being whose species had ruled worlds when Earth was still cooling. "While we grew comfortable in our superiority, they prepared for war. The recording showed human soldiers moving faster than thought, human ships appearing from impossible directions, human weapons that ignored every defense the galaxy possessed. In 47 minutes, humanity had destroyed a fleet that could have conquered most star systems. Send a message to all member species," Kethvar said, his voice shaking. "The humans are no longer to be underestimated. They are officially classified as a threat to galactic stability, but it was already too late." Admiral Jake Morrison had received reports of the victory at New Boston. Operation Prometheus was working perfectly. The galaxy's most feared military force had been crushed by humans they thought were harmless. Now it was time to show the rest of the galaxy what 2 centuries of patience and preparation had created. The prey had become the predator, and the hunt was just beginning. The news of the Zephyrian defeat spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In council chambers across 1,000 worlds, alien leaders watched the recordings with growing fear. The humans, those quiet creatures from the small blue world, had just destroyed the galaxy's most feared military force in less than an hour. Senator Corvash of the Altarian Republic slammed his six-fingered fist on the conference table. This cannot stand. The humans have become a threat to the natural order. They must be contained. Around him, representatives from 7 major alien civilizations nodded in agreement. The mantid hives with their insect-like intelligence. The crystalline hegemony, beings of living mineral who had ruled for millennia. The void hunters, creatures of pure energy who existed in space itself. All of them had dismissed humanity as irrelevant. All of them were now terrified. The coalition of concerned worlds is hereby formed, declared Archon Zelmoth of the Ethereal Dominion. 7 species, 3,000 ships, unified against the human menace. Fleet Admiral Steve Collins received the declaration aboard the human command ship Defiance, hidden in the shadow of Saturn's rings. Around him, his enhanced crew worked with impossible efficiency, their minds linked through neural implants that allowed them to think as one. So they want to make this easy for us, Steve said, his scarred face showing satisfaction. All our enemies in one place. Major Kate Williams materialized beside him, her form solidifying from what looked like empty air. The phase shift technology still amazed Steve, even after months of use. Kate could walk through walls, become invisible, or appear anywhere in the solar system at will. Sir, intelligence reports confirm coalition fleet positions. They're blockading all human systems, trying to starve us into submission. Steve laughed, a sound that would have chilled the aliens if they could have heard it. They still think we need their supply lines. They still think we're bound by their understanding of physics. Dr. Marcus Webb looked up from his research station. Admiral, the genetic modifications are complete on all personnel. Enhanced strength, speed, regeneration, and neural processing. Plus the new abilities, phase shifting, quantum tunneling, matter manipulation. And our ships, ready for simultaneous strike operations. Quantum drives will place us in orbit around all 7 coalition homeworlds within minutes of your command. Steve nodded. The coalition thought they were being clever, strangling human space with overwhelming numbers. They didn't realize that humans no longer needed to follow the old rules of space travel. While alien fleets moved through hyperspace at predictable speeds, human ships could appear anywhere, instantly. Kate, take your team and infiltrate the coalition command center. I want to know their plans before they make them. Major Williams smiled, her enhanced features showing predatory satisfaction. Already done, sir. We've been inside their systems for weeks. She activated a holographic display showing the coalition's secret planning sessions. Alien commanders speaking in a dozen different languages, all saying the same thing. The humans must be destroyed before they could spread their influence. They're planning to attack Earth directly, Kate reported. Bypass our outer defenses and strike at the homeworld. They think if they can destroy our home planet, we'll surrender. Steve's expression hardened. 2 centuries of alien condescension. 2 centuries of being treated like children. 2 centuries of biding their time. And now the aliens wanted to destroy Earth itself. Signal all fleet commanders, he said quietly. Operation Prometheus enters Phase 2. All 7 coalition homeworlds are now priority targets. We move in 6 hours. Across human space, ships began to phase shift toward their destinations. Not the slow, predictable movement through hyperspace that aliens used, but instantaneous quantum translation that ignored distance and time. The Altarian homeworld of Krexvar was a fortress planet, surrounded by defensive platforms that could destroy entire fleets. Its population of 12 billion considered themselves the galaxy's greatest military strategists. They never saw the human ships coming. Admiral Collins materialized, his fleet directly inside the planet's defensive perimeter, bypassing shields and weapons that pointed uselessly at empty space. Human ships appeared in perfect formation, their phase technology allowing them to exist in the same space as the alien defenses without triggering them. Altarian Defense Command, Steve broadcast on all frequencies. This is Fleet Admiral Collins of the Human Defense Force. Your world is now under occupation. Surrender immediately or face total annihilation. The response was immediate and predictable. Energy beams lanced out from defensive platforms. Plasma missiles streaked through space, and the planet's entire military force opened fire on the human fleet. The weapons passed harmlessly through the phased human ships. Phase shift to combat mode, Steve ordered. Suddenly, the human vessels became solid, their weapons charging with energies that registered off all known scales. The first salvo from the human fleet turned the planet's defensive network into expanding clouds of plasma and debris. On the planet's surface, enhanced human soldiers led by Lieutenant Chris Turner began their assault. The Altarians were skilled fighters, their natural armor and energy weapons making them formidable opponents against normal enemies. But humans were no longer normal. Chris moved through the alien defenders like a force of nature. His enhanced muscles let him jump over buildings. His modified nervous system made him faster than their eyes could follow. His regeneration abilities meant that wounds that should have killed him healed in seconds. Behind him, his soldiers demonstrated abilities that defied belief. They walked through solid walls, lifted vehicles over their heads, and shrugged off direct hits from plasma cannons. Some could manipulate matter at the molecular level, turning alien weapons into harmless dust. Others projected energy shields that nothing could penetrate. The proud Altarian military, conquerors of dozens of worlds, lasted exactly 17 minutes against one company of enhanced humans. Similar scenes played out across 7 worlds simultaneously. The mantid hives, with their billions of insect warriors, found their swarms useless against humans who could phase through their attacks and strike from impossible angles. The crystalline hegemony discovered that their living mineral bodies could be shattered by weapons that attacked the quantum bonds between their atoms. The Void Hunters, creatures of pure energy who had never known physical defeat, learned that humans had developed ways to manipulate energy itself, trapping and destroying beings they had considered gods. Dr. Webb monitored the battles from his command center, his enhanced intellect processing information faster than any computer. Admiral, coalition resistance is collapsing across all fronts. Enemy casualties approach 90%. Human losses remain at 0, Steve nodded. 0 losses. Not because the aliens were weak, but because humans had become something beyond their ability to harm. 2 centuries of genetic enhancement, technological development, and strategic planning had created warriors that existed outside the normal laws of combat. Kate, what's the status on their command structure? Major Williams smiled from the Coalition Command Center, where she stood invisible among the panicking alien commanders. Complete breakdown, sir. They're trying to recall their fleets from human space, but our ships are already moving to intercept. The blockade force will be destroyed within the hour. Around her, alien generals and admirals stared at displays showing the destruction of their homeworlds. Beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia were reduced to whimpering children, unable to comprehend what they faced. Impossible, whispered Archon Zelmoth. The humans were primitive, weak. How did they become this? Kate allowed herself to become visible, materializing in the center of the command chamber. The aliens scrambled for weapons, but she made no aggressive moves. You want to know how? She asked conversationally. Simple. While you were busy feeling superior, we were learning. Every diplomatic visit to Earth was a chance to study your technology. Every trade agreement was an opportunity to analyze your capabilities. Every insult was motivation to become stronger. She gestured to the displays showing human ships cutting through alien fleets like they were made of paper. You taught us everything we needed to know. Your weaknesses, your limitations, your arrogance. We just improved on it. The Coalition Command Center fell silent except for the sound of distant explosions as human forces completed their conquest of 7 worlds. In 6 hours, the galaxy's most powerful military alliance had been crushed beyond recovery. Steve Collins stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the final Coalition ships surrender or be destroyed. The blockade of human space was broken, the threat to Earth eliminated, and the galaxy's power structure permanently altered. Signal Earth Command, he said. Phase 2 is complete. The coalition of concerned worlds no longer exists. Human space is secure, and 7 additional systems are now under our control. He looked out at the stars, each one representing worlds that had underestimated humanity for too long. The quiet species from the small blue planet had finally shown its true nature. The galaxy was learning to fear the name human, and this was only the beginning. 6 weeks after the coalition's defeat, terror gripped every corner of the galaxy. Refugee fleets fled toward the rim worlds, carrying billions of aliens desperate to escape the advancing human forces. Ancient species that had ruled for millions of years found themselves homeless, their mighty civilizations reduced to scattered survivors. President Ellen Murphy sat in her office overlooking the Pacific Ocean, reading reports that would have seemed impossible just months ago. The woman who had once begged alien councils for basic respect now held the fate of entire worlds in her hands. "Madam President," her aide announced, "the Eternal Conclave has requested an emergency meeting." Ellen looked up from her documents. The Eternal Conclave, 5 species so old and powerful that even the Zephyrians had bowed to them. Beings who claimed to have existed since the galaxy's youth, who treated all other life as temporary curiosities. "They want to meet with us?" Ellen couldn't hide her surprise. "They're frightened, ma'am." Their message included formal recognition of human sovereignty and requests for mercy. Ellen leaned back in her chair. Mercy? From beings who had watched humanity struggle for centuries without lifting a finger to help, who had laughed at human ambassadors and dismissed Earth as irrelevant. Tell them they can come to Earth, to my office. They want to talk to humanity's leadership? They can come to us. Commander Ryan O'Brien stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Vengeance, watching the ancient crystalline homeworld of Zarian surrender. The planet's surface, once covered in towers of living diamond, now bore the scars of human conquest. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "Governor Williams requests permission to establish the new human administration." Ryan nodded. Major Kate Williams had proven excellent at managing occupied territories. Her combination of enhanced abilities and psychological insight made her perfect for dealing with conquered alien populations. On Zarian's surface, Kate materialized in what had once been the crystalline High Council chamber. The surviving aliens, beings of living mineral who stood 12 feet tall, cowered before the small human woman who had appeared among them like a ghost. "Citizens of Zarion," Kate announced, her voice amplified by technology that turned her words into harmonics the crystallines could understand. "You are now subjects of the human hegemony. Your world will be administered by human governors, your resources allocated according to human needs, your people integrated into human society." Elder Quartz Prime, once ruler of 1,000 worlds, knelt before the human woman. His crystalline form, which had existed for over 10 million years, trembled with fear. "Please," he whispered, "we meant no harm to your species. We were not part of the coalition. We remained neutral." Kate's expression didn't change. "Neutral? You remained neutral while the galaxy's bullies demanded our colonies. You remained neutral while they threatened to destroy Earth. Your neutrality was complicity." She gestured, and holographic displays showed the new administrative structure. "Your people will be relocated to designated zones. Your technology will be studied and improved by human scientists. Your ships will be scrapped or retrofitted for human use. Your culture will be preserved in museums." Dr. Sandra Lee watched from her observation post, studying the psychological effects of human conquest on alien populations. Her research would be invaluable for managing the dozens of worlds that fell to human forces each week. "Fascinating," she murmured into her recorder. "Complete psychological collapse of previously dominant species when confronted with superior force. The subjects display all symptoms of learned helplessness, accepting human authority without question." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. The Void Hunters, once masters of space itself, found their energy forms contained in human-designed prisons that compressed them into harmless sparks. The Mantid Hives, with their collective consciousness spanning entire star systems, discovered that human neural technology could disrupt their mental links, leaving billions of individuals isolated and helpless. In the Galactic Federation's former capital, Ambassador Kethavar received the news that changed everything. The Eternal Conclave, rulers of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilizations, had issued a formal statement of surrender. "Impossible," Kethavar hissed, his reptilian features twisted with despair. "The Eternal Ones have existed since before our species learned to count. They cannot simply surrender." His aide, a smaller Zephyrian named Vorth, trembled as he delivered the message. "Sir, they're not just surrendering. They're begging." The message included offers of tribute, technology, even their own people as servants. Kethavar stared at the communication in shock. The beings who had shaped galactic civilization for eons were reduced to groveling before a species they had dismissed as primitive children. On Earth, President Murphy prepared for the most important meeting in human history. The Eternal Conclave was coming to her not as equals, but as defeated supplicants seeking mercy from their conquerors. The meeting took place in the same conference room where alien ambassadors had once delivered ultimatums to humanity. Now 5 beings of unimaginable age and former power stood before Ellen's desk like scolded children. The speaker for the void transcendence appeared as shifting patterns of light and shadow. The architect of the living worlds took the form of a massive tree whose roots existed in multiple dimensions. The prime consciousness of the machine empire manifested as geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. The eternal flame of the star shapers burned with cold fire that predated most suns. The avatar of the deep ones rose from what seemed like an ocean of liquid darkness. President Murphy, the speaker's voice resonated through dimensions humanity couldn't fully perceive. We come before you in recognition of humanity's ascension to galactic dominance. Ellen stood behind her desk, flanked by enhanced human guards whose presence made the ancient beings visibly uncomfortable. You mean you come before me in defeat? Let's not pretend this is anything other than surrender. The avatar of the deep ones rippled with what might have been shame. We underestimated your species. For eons we have guided galactic development, believing ourselves the pinnacle of evolution. We were incorrect. You were arrogant, Ellen corrected. You watched as other species bullied and exploited humanity. You could have intervened. You could have enforced justice. Instead, you remained in your hidden worlds, feeling superior while we suffered. Dr. Paul Johnson materialized beside the president, his enhanced form phasing through the wall as if it didn't exist. The ancient beings recoiled at the casual display of technology they couldn't understand. Madam President, Paul reported, our analysis of their worlds is complete. The Eternal Conclave possesses technologies dating back millions of years, including matter conversion systems, time manipulation devices, and dimensional engineering capabilities. Ellen's eyes gleamed with interest. And now all of it belongs to humanity. The prime consciousness pulsed with desperate energy. We offer full technological sharing, unlimited access to our knowledge archives, and complete submission to human authority. We ask only for the right to exist. You ask for mercy, Ellen said flatly. The same mercy you never showed to smaller, weaker species throughout galactic history. She walked around her desk, her enhanced physiology making her movements seem predatory to beings who had never known fear. I've read the histories, the real ones we recovered from conquered worlds. The Eternal Conclave has overseen the extinction of thousands of species. You've allowed genocide, slavery, and oppression on scales that dwarf anything in human history. The eternal flame flickered with what might have been guilt. We maintained stability, order. The strong ruled the weak as nature intended. And now we're the strong, Ellen said simply. By your own logic, we have the right to rule you. The 5 ancient beings exchanged communications through methods that existed beyond human senses. Finally, the speaker bowed his impossible form in submission. We accept human dominion over our peoples and territories. We pledge our eternal service to the human hegemony. We beg only for the survival of our species under your benevolent rule. Ellen smiled, but it wasn't a kind expression. Benevolent? You misunderstand our nature. We're not benevolent conquerors. We're the species you created by allowing us to be brutalized for centuries. We're the product of your neglect and indifference. She returned to her desk and activated a holographic display, showing human fleets throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of worlds under occupation, billions of aliens under human authority. Entire civilizations restructured to serve humanity's needs. You will surrender all technology, all resources, all knowledge. Your people will be relocated according to human requirements. Your cultures will be preserved only at our discretion. Your very existence continues only because we allow it. The meeting ended with the formal dissolution of the Eternal Conclave and the establishment of human governors over their territories. 5 ancient species that had shaped galactic history for millions of years became footnotes in humanity's rise to cosmic dominance. As the defeated beings departed, Ellen stood at her window watching the Pacific sunset. In less than a year, humanity had gone from galactic. 1 year after the first battle at New Boston, Supreme Commander Tony Martinez stood in the newly constructed Hall of Human Dominion on Earth. The massive structure, built from materials taken from conquered alien worlds, served as the capital of the human hegemony that now ruled over 4,000 star systems. Around him, Holographic displays showed the complete transformation of galactic civilization. Where once dozens of alien species had competed for power and resources, now there was only humanity at the top, and everyone else serving beneath them. Commander Martinez, Admiral Lisa Chen reported as she materialized beside him using phase shift technology. The integration of the former Zephyrian territories is complete. Their population has been relocated to designated zones, and human colonies are being established on their former homeworlds. Tony nodded, his enhanced features showing satisfaction. The Zephyrians, who had once demanded human colonies as tribute, now lived in cramped reservation worlds under strict human supervision. Their mighty empire had become a footnote in human history books. Dr. Paul Johnson approached, carrying data tablets that glowed with information about humanity's expanded technological capabilities. Supreme Commander, the analysis of Eternal Conclave technologies is yielding remarkable results. We now possess the ability to manipulate time itself, convert matter at the subatomic level and access dimensions beyond normal space. And our exploration fleets? Already pushing beyond the galactic rim. The technologies we've acquired from conquered species have made us capable of intergalactic travel. We're no longer limited to this galaxy. Tony walked to the great window that showed Earth below, now the undisputed center of galactic civilization. Alien ships arrived constantly, bringing tribute and resources from across human space. The planet that had once begged for recognition now commanded the obedience of trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. In the memorial chamber at the heart of the building, a black wall stretched for hundreds of meters covered with names. Every human who had died under alien oppression, from the first diplomatic missions to the victims of alien neglect and cruelty. At the base of the memorial, words were carved in stone that would endure for millennia. Never again will humanity bow to false gods. Commander Ryan O'Brien stood before a gathering of former alien leaders in what had once been the Galactic Federation Council chamber. The magnificent hall, built to showcase the power and glory of dozens of species, now served as a courthouse where human judges decided the fate of entire civilizations. Citizens of the former Galactic Federation, Ryan announced, his voice carrying the authority of absolute power. You are here to witness the establishment of the new galactic order. Before him sat the remnants of once mighty species. Ambassador Kethvar, the arrogant Zephyrian who had delivered ultimatums to humanity, now wore the simple gray clothing of a human subject. His yellow eyes, once filled with contempt for humans, showed only fear and submission. Elder Quartz Prime of the crystalline hegemony, a being millions of years old, had been reduced to a small fragment of his former self, his consciousness compressed into a crystal no larger than a human fist. The Void Hunters existed as contained energy patterns in human-designed prisons, their once godlike powers neutralized by technology they couldn't comprehend. The age of alien dominance is over, Ryan continued. Humanity has taken its rightful place as the galaxy's supreme species. Your civilizations exist now only to serve human needs and human expansion. Major Kate Williams stepped forward, her enhanced form radiating the casual confidence of absolute superiority. The new administrative structure is simple. Humans rule. Everyone else obeys. Your people will work in designated roles: mining, agriculture, basic manufacturing. Your children will be educated in human schools, learning human history and human values. Your cultures will be preserved in museums for human study. A small alien being, one of the surviving counselors from the insectoid hive species, raised a trembling appendage. Please, humans, we understand your anger. But surely there can be cooperation between our species. Mutual benefit? Kate's expression didn't change, but her response made the alien shrink back in terror. Cooperation? You had 2 centuries to cooperate with humanity. Instead, you chose exploitation. You chose dominance. You chose to treat us as inferiors. She gestured to the holographic displays showing human ships throughout the galaxy. Now you experience what it means to be the inferior species. The difference is we're actually superior. We've proven it through conquest. Dr. Sandra Lee observed the proceedings from her research station, documenting the complete psychological transformation of the galaxy's former rulers. Her studies showed that most alien populations had accepted human dominance within months of conquest, their resistance broken by the demonstration of overwhelming superiority. Fascinating, she recorded in her notes. The subjects show classic symptoms of learned helplessness when confronted with genuinely superior force. Unlike human responses to oppression, which typically include resistance and rebellion, these alien species appear to accept subordination as natural when faced with clearly dominant beings. On the former Zephyrian homeworld of Drakmor, human colonists walked through cities that had once housed the galaxy's most feared warriors. The massive stone buildings, designed to showcase Zephyrian strength, now served as administrative centers for human governors. Lieutenant Chris Turner, now promoted to colonel, led a group of human children on a tour of the planet's history museum. The young humans, born after the conquest, looked with curiosity at displays showing the former alien rulers. Colonel Turner asked 8-year-old Amy Rodriguez, "Why were the aliens so mean to us before?" Chris looked down at the girl, her enhanced genetics already showing in her bright eyes and quick movements. She belonged to the first generation of humans who would never know alien oppression, who would grow up as rulers of the galaxy, because they thought they were better than us. Chris explained simply. They were bigger, older, had more technology, but they forgot the most important thing about being truly superior. What's that? Superior beings prove their worth through their actions, not their words. We proved we were better by becoming better. They just assumed they were better because they always had been. Another child, 10-year-old Marcus Chen, pointed to a display showing Zephyrian warriors in their prime. "Are they sorry now?" Chris smiled. "They're learning to be." In the depths of space, Admiral Jake Morrison commanded the exploration fleet pushing beyond the galaxy's edge. The ships under his command used technologies that would have seemed magical to the aliens who had once dismissed humanity. They traveled faster than light, communicated across impossible distances, and carried weapons that could crack planets. "Admiral," reported his science officer, "long-range sensors are detecting artificial structures in the neighboring Andromeda galaxy. Appears to be another galactic civilization." Jake's weathered features showed interest. Another galaxy. Another collection of species that had probably never heard of humanity. Another chance to show the universe what Earth's children had become. "Signal Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell Supreme Commander Martinez that we've found new neighbors. Ask him if he wants us to introduce ourselves." Back on Earth, Tony Martinez received the message in his command center. Around him, displays showed the vast human empire that now stretched across most of the known galaxy. 4,000 worlds under human control, trillions of aliens serving human needs, technologies that made humanity the most powerful force in galactic history. And now, apparently, there were other galaxies to explore and conquer. "Send a reply to Admiral Morrison," Tony said. "Begin standard first contact procedures. Study them, learn their weaknesses, assess their capabilities. If they prove hostile or attempt to threaten human interests, pacify them. If they prove useful, integrate them." He paused, thinking of the long journey from humanity's position as galactic outcasts to rulers of known space, and remind them that humanity has learned patience. "We spent 200 years preparing for our first victory. We can take however long we need to prepare for the next one." Dr. Johnson looked up from his research. "Sir, should we be concerned about potential threats from other galaxies?" Tony smiled, his enhanced features showing the confidence of a species that had conquered every challenge it faced. "Paul, we turned the galaxy's apex predators into our servants. We crushed civilizations millions of years older than ours. We've become something beyond what any species in this galaxy ever imagined." He gestured to the displays showing human colonies spreading across formerly alien worlds. Human ships patrolling formerly alien space, human governors ruling formerly alien populations. Let them come. The galaxy has already learned to fear the name human. It's time the universe learned the same lesson. Outside the Hall of Human Dominion, alien children attended human schools, learning about the species that had risen from a small blue world to rule the stars. Their textbooks taught them that humans were evolution's answer to stagnant civilizations, predators born to hunt among the cosmic prey. In classrooms across 1,000 worlds, young aliens recited the lesson that had become the foundation of galactic education. Humanity rose not through luck or accident, but through patience.